Well, welcome to the webinar on resources on assistive technology to support the PTI CPRC network. And we are very happy and excited that you are joining us. We're sharing some great information today on the CTD website as well as the binder of resources we have put together that is a great resource to share with families. So we are one of CTD's partners. We're the Pacer Simon Technology Center. And this is a recorded webinar, so you won't have to worry about sound or being on mute. We do recommend using headphones to have the best listening experience. And since, again, this is not live, you won't be able to use the chat window. So if you do have questions, we still welcome your questions, but please email your questions to ctd@fhi360.org. So today we're going to talk about Center on Technology and Disability, what the organization is and is about, and a little bit about us from Pacer Center, the Simon Technology Center, and then an overview of the CTD website, the CTD resources, and then the resource binder. We have two versions, the printed version and the digital version that we'll be sharing with you. So Center on Technology and Disability was funded through the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Programs, also called OSEP. There are three main partners, FHI360, American Institutes of Research, AIR, and then Pacer Center, us. The website and the Center on Technology and Disability was designed to increase the capacity of families and providers to advocate for, acquire, and implement effective assistive and instructional technology practices, devices, and services. And so this website is filled with lots of resources that provide information on assistive technology, acquiring it, using it, implementation, and a variety of methods. And so there are resources that can be read. There are resources that can be listened to, such as webinars and videos, and also watched, such as videos. And there are also learning opportunities through online courses as well. So this website is meant to be really a place to find a lot of information that have been collected through a variety of resources. And so the hope is that you can find what you're needing through this website and not needing to go to many other locations. We are from the Pacer Simon Technology Center. Pacer Center is a parent advocacy and parent training center for families with children with disabilities. And we are we're from the Simon Technology Center, which is focused and dedicated to assistive technology and helping families and professionals learn about assistive technology, what the options are, and implementation strategies, and how to use the devices.
This is a good point to introduce ourselves.
Oh, yes. I'm Kara Bruss.
And I'm Sarah Giffen-Hunter, and we are both assistive technology specialists at Pacer.
Thank you.
So we're going to, before we launch into looking at the CTD website, this slide is reviewing different learning styles. So there are a variety of kinds of resources on the website. And for you as a professional or for families that you are working with, there are different learning styles, different ways of taking in information. So one, of course, would be reading online articles, research papers, fact sheets, lists, forms. Another way, if you are more visual or auditory, would be listening and watching. So there are live webinars, there are archived webinars and other videos. And then also for a more social kind of experience, there is connecting through Twitter, live webinars, and email. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the CTD website. Here. There we go. So there's the home screen of the CTD website. And the way it is organized, you'll see here at the top there are three main tabs. The first one being the library, and this is where there is a great wealth of resources that we're going to dive into a little deeper in a little bit here. And then there's also the webinars page. On the left are the recorded webinars that are available to view. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see upcoming events. Now, you do need to go up to this register button in order to register. You need to register for a free CTD account in order to register for an upcoming webinar. And then over here to the right is the e-learning. And those are online courses that are available. Same thing, you can see here, it'll ask you to register or log in to participate in an online course. But there's this one here at the bottom I just wanted to highlight is Assisted Technology 101. So it's a basic introductory, I think 4-module course. It's really nice introduction to assisted technology. So going back to the home page, another way to navigate the website over here to the right, these boxes, is through the audience landing pages. So here you see state and local leaders, and then teachers and researchers. I'm going to just click on that one so that you can see what this landing page looks like. It's a teacher researcher portal. And then below here you see featured resources and then also webinars and learning materials. And these pages are updated and we rotate resources through there monthly. So it's a nice place to check back and see what's there. And so you can enter the library directly through that avenue. I'm going to go back and show you the families landing page. So if we just click on families, so it's basically taking you to resources that we've identified as helpful. Sometimes they're newly added resources. Here's an example of a Spanish language document that's translated into Spanish for when you're working with those families. And then some relevant webinars. So this is stuff that is appropriate for the family audience. And then I'm going to go back to the home page and pass it over to Tara again.
Okay, so I want to show you, as we enter into the library tab, these are going to be materials that can be read, so different articles. And there'll be additional formats in here as well that I'm going to point out to you. But as we look at these are divided into different categories, such as early childhood, education K through 12, family and student support, transition, and state and local leaders. And so you can find the category that is most appropriate to what information you're interested in. And then there's additionally subcategories. So this is further narrowing down to provide relevant information based on your interest. And so we can see under subcategories, AT for development and participation, funding acquisition. So I'm going to go into one of these categories to show you what search results look like. So I'm clicking on early childhood. And then we can see a list of relevant information. And so PDF is a PDF document that you'd read with your eyes. And then if we look at, so this is not focusing down on a subcategory yet. So there is a drop-down menu that we can choose a subcategory. And this will filter out other categories and just this particular one. And click on funding and acquisition. Some of these subcategories you will notice are relevant to other categories as well. And so you'll see some of this information duplicated across. But this is showing how it's really providing information to the categories and subcategories that's relevant. So here we see on the left side an icon for a web page, and so that would be a web page that you could link to. Here is a link for a video, and looking for a PowerPoint icon, but I don't see one yet. So let's go through some more subcategories. IFSP process, so information related to IFSP. And here's a video for a webinar. And so when we see webinars or PowerPoints, they're going to likely be a matching either PDF or PowerPoint or a webinar. And so if you're interested in that particular learning material, then you can do a search for that title in our search bar to find the other pieces related to this if it's not linked together. And so we can see there's a description, and then here is the link to watch it. And the transcript as well is provided below the video. So now we can move back out. And so you might have noticed on this screen there is a gray bar towards the top, and that is also showing us the navigation and the categories that we've drilled down into. So right now it's showing us education K through 12 without a subcategory listed. And so when we choose one, it's going to list that subcategory here as well. So we can also navigate this way by clicking back through the hierarchy of topics. And so we have a variety of topics under K through 12, AT assessment, again, funding and acquisition because it's also applicable for this category in this age range as well. The IEP process, inclusion, so AT resources and options and strategies for in the inclusion setting. LEA, SEA capacity building, so this is going to be for local education agencies and state education agencies, not likely applicable for the families that you work with. Online and blended learning, pre-service preparation, again, not likely going to be appropriate for families you work with. So this is not, this is showing results across all audiences. This is not specific to a family audience. It's more specific to the areas of K through 12, all areas. If you're looking specifically for resources for families, you might be interested in this category, family and student support. And so under there are valuable resources in advocacy and awareness, cultural context, family support organizations, family support, funding and acquisition, and technology tools. And then we have other categories, again, such as transition, which you'll likely find a lot of appropriate information for families to work with there, and then state and local leaders. So if you work with professionals, these may be resources that you direct them towards.
Okay. Great overview, intro. So I'm going to click right here. So we're at the library main page, and I'm just going to click on the search without entering any filters. And it might be useful to know that then that takes you to the full library, 1,174 resources. And then we can go from there, and I want to talk about the bar on the side to the right that is always there, so you can enter in filter terms. But before you do that, it might be a good idea to go down and look at the other filters that are available. So starting with the audience, we can see here, we can click Family Support Organizations, and it does do an immediate filter as soon as you click a box. It's filtering out. So just by clicking the Family Support Organizations, Parents and Family Members, it's now taken it down to 694 resources. And then below that is resource type. So that's really helpful if you know that you want something to read or you know you want a webinar. So I'm going to click articles, ebook, infographic, and then that has taken us down to 259 resources. And then the next section is produced by who the organization was that produced the resource. And then lastly is the language. So I can click just English, and that takes me to 237 resources. Or alternatively, if I am working with a family where English is the second language, and I can just select Spanish and just see the resources that are available in Spanish. Here you see there are 14. Again, I could then add webinar and video. Once I'm in Spanish, then there's 18, so I might want to see everything that's available in Spanish. Okay, so then I'm going to go back up here, go to the full library again, hit search, and then I'm going to enter a specific term. Up here, I will put sensitive there. Autism as my term and hit enter. And that takes me to 35 resources. So now this has everything that is appropriate for the family support organizations and family members audience, and then all kinds of resources, and no language is selected. And what did I say that was? 35. So I think that gives you a pretty good overview of how to navigate and find the resources on the library. I do want to just go to one of these. Here we go. AT Support for Autism App Matrix. So clicking on that takes you to the description page, which has a brief description that gives you a little more information so you know whether you want to click through and open this document. And then, so I'm going to click on that, and it opens the PDF. And there you can see that document. Okay. So that is the CTD website, and especially the library resources and webinars and online courses. And now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there's also ways to connect with CTD and other organizations in order to gain information and access resources. So first being their Twitter. CTD, you can see here on the screen, CTD Institute's Twitter account, something that you can follow. You can subscribe for CTD updates by email. You can send questions or comments directly to CTD at their email address. And as we mentioned a little bit before, that you can register for a free account, a free CTD account, by clicking on the register button. And that will also give you, access to login for webinars and courses.
Okay, so hopefully we have helped you become excited about all of the resources available on the CTD website. We have been developing and working on a binder of resources that is a collection of resources from CTD website, but put together in a way that kind of leads you through learning about assistive technology and implementation while working with your families. And so there's two versions. There's a print version and a digital version. And so just to get started with the binder, we had sent out a needs assessment to learn about what are helpful ways and to provide resources to the centers like where you're at. And we also have done different focus groups to help us along the way to provide direction for the needs assessment, and then reviewing the content of what is in the binder and reviewing the usability of the print binder and the navigation of it, and the review of the electronic binder and how to navigate through the electronic binder. And so currently it's going through the editing process through many different hands to edit the document or the binder. And our goal then is to be providing this to you by the end of September. So the intended use of this is for your learning and building a foundational knowledge of assistive technology, so that as you're working with families, you feel comfortable with the topics and with the resources available, and how and where to find additional information to share with families. We also have the articles available within the binder for quick, easy printing of individual articles to share. And so the intention is not to take the full binder and distribute that to families, but to work with the families through the binder and walk through the binder with families, and to share individual resources that are applicable to families at that moment in time that they're needing that information. And also to point families towards the CTD website for more information. So we're going to walk you through the print version of the binder to show you the layout and how it's been organized. So this, again, this is a draft version, so there are some more edits happening to the binder. In the front page, there will be an additional letter on top of this, but this is also a how to use this guide. So when you receive this later, there will be, you can refer to this for more information on how to use the guide. We'll be covering it now, but this can be helpful to have a written review and reminder. There is a table of contents listing our areas of information. And so we have here what is assistive technology, so foundational information on what assistive technology is, the definitions of it, some examples. Legislation and advocacy for assistive technology, and assistive technology for ages birth to grade 12, assistive technology for transition age and young adults, finding and funding assistive technology, and then glossaries and additional other resources. So those are the main categories. Within the main categories, we have subcategories, and you'll notice that some of these subcategories repeat themselves based on the information included in that category. And so these are color-coded. The subcategories are color-coded. So the print resources are a red color. The additional resources, which are not printed, these are links to finding the information on the CTD website. And these are blue tabs. You'll find them in the blue tab. And then there are Spanish language resources. So if you're working with a family that speaks Spanish, then you can find resources in the yellow tab. And then some of these categories, such as assistive technology for ages, or for legislation and advocacy, and then finding and funding, there is a tab and a place for you to add local information. So this is information specific to your area. And so then you can print and include those within those pink tabs. And so the main categories are white tabs with labels, and then the subcategories, as I mentioned, are all colored tabs. So again, if you're working with a family that speaks Spanish, then you can look for all of the yellow tabs within the binder.
Okay. So we're going to look through this a little bit more here. I know that you may not be able to read the specific areas, but just want to give you a little bit more introduction to what we've got. So every section has not only a tab that tells you where it is, but it also has a cover page. And that cover page gives a brief overview of that topic area. So this is what is assistive technology, a basic introduction to assistive technology. And then there is a list of what is printed that is immediately following that. Let me slide it over a little bit more. Okay. A little closer. There we go. And so, yes, a brief description, and then as Tara will talk about in a little bit, there are links to finding the document on the CTD website, and that will be accessible through the electronic version of the binder. So then each resource that is printed has a cover page as well. It looks like this with the blue bar. So here's the AP fact sheet, Assistive Technology 101. And then the next one is Assistive Technology Solutions. So this one has a lot of helpful pictures. And so you can see how that one is. And then next we have a list of additional recommended resources. So things that were not printed and put in the binder, but things that maybe, like the first one you can see is the course that I referenced when we were on the website, and a couple videos, so some useful things that we are suggesting. And then the Spanish language resources. The first one is printed and is included here. The second one is a video. But then you can see here's the Spanish language resource. And it is actually the same document that we just saw with all the pictures, and it is translated into Spanish. Okay, so then moving on to legislation and advocacy. This is an area that we got feedback that would be really helpful for family centers to have some information handy to go to. And here you see, these are the resources that are printed and included. And it's good to note that quite a few of the resources are actually quite short, like succinct. This is a 504 flowchart handout. Real clear, real helpful, really easy to just pull out and photocopy if that's something that you want to share with the family. Conversations about including assistive technology. Again, that was 4 pages. So really helpful information. And so those are all the advocacy and legislation documents. Some additional resources. The first one is a PowerPoint, and then we've got a website and a video. And then a section for you to add relevant information that is specific to your location, state legislation, local advocacy organizations. Next is the AT for ages birth to grade 12. And we have, this is probably the largest section of the binder. We have, let's see, several pages, a couple pages of resources that are printed and included. And they are broken down into the basics, intro information, and then the IFSP process and the IEP process. And then some information specific to choosing AT for your student. So again, you see some very nice, succinct documents that could be easy to reproduce for a family. Additional resources. Looks like this one is a couple pages as well. Things that are easy to access on the CTD website. Some are a little longer. I see 57 pages, 60 pages, so not things we wanted to print, but things that might be useful to you in your work. And then Spanish language resources. And it looks like there are 4 documents that are printed. Okay. Transition age. So for high school students transitioning to post-secondary activities, college, job, independent living. Several printed resources here. And then additional resources. Looks like a video and a couple other documents. And then the Spanish language resource is a video. And then finding and funding assistive technology. It's an important topic for many families. Sure, that comes up in your work with them. So we've got a couple print resources here. Assistive technology for students with disabilities, a closer look at acquisition and funding. And the other one is funding assistive technology. Quite a number of additional resources here. Take a look at. And then, again, a space to put information specific to your area, your state, or your region for funding resources. And then, getting to the back, we're now at the glossaries. This actually contains 3 glossaries. The first 2 are in English, and then the third is a Spanish glossary. So the first one is a short look-up glossary with acronyms and some of the most commonly used terms that parents will come across in the process of special education and looking at assistive technology. So this is really handy for those acronyms they might need to know going into an IEP meeting. And then the second one is a fuller, comprehensive assistive technology glossary. And it looks like it is 26, 25 pages. So in this one, we intended to put pretty much every term, not every term, but many, many terms that families may come across or need to be familiar with in working with the schools and getting support for their child. So that's that. And then we've got a Spanish language resource, which is a glossary of assistive technology for transition age. So this is a nice document that has some of the same terms in it, and it is in Spanish. The English terms in parentheses. And then the last thing is other resources. And this is organizations with resources on assistive technology. So CTD, PACER, and then other resources, other organizations, and a brief explanation, and then a link to where you can find their website. And that is the binder. And so now I think we're going to switch over and look at and talk about the electronic version of the binder.
Okay, so the electronic version of the binder does not have all of the resources printed out, but the value is in the live links that you can click on and go straight to the resource on the CTD website rather than having to type in the web address or do a search on the title of the item. So here we see the title cover of the guide, and then here is how to use this guide. And here's a table of contents, so you might notice this looks the same, but our edited version, the final version, will have live links that are clickable. So if you want to, say, navigate to the Assistive Technology for Transition Age Youth and Young Adult section, you could click on this and go straight to that section rather than having to scroll all the way down to find it. So that will be a really helpful way to quickly navigate. And so here we see under print resources, we're in the AT, what is AT section. Here is the live link that we can click on to go to the page that has the resource on it. And so this is the short description on the CTD website of this resource. And then here's a downloadable resource link that we click on to download what looks like it's a PDF. And so as we navigate through, another option and way to navigate through this PDF document, if you're using Adobe as the viewer, is if you are, for example, towards the end of the document and you want to go back up to the table of contents quickly rather than scrolling, we could type in the page number, hit return, and then we can quickly navigate back up to the beginning of the document, the table of contents, to then further move around and navigate through other sections that you're interested in either learning more about or sharing resources with the families you are working with. So again, this is a draft version, and the individual articles are not viewable here, but the description is, and the link to go to that item, whether it's a PowerPoint video or a readable PDF document. Another helpful thing to note as you're going through and taking in these resources is there is listed the amount of minutes, how long it is, or the amount or the amount of minutes that it would take to then learn about that resource. So here's one that is a printed document. You can see how many pages it is, and then how many minutes is estimated to be required to read through and to learn that material. So that can be helpful knowing how long that particular piece of learning information is. So again, it's a draft document. And as I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to have these delivered to you by the end of September. And we're just finishing up the final edits to both of these, the print version and the electronic version. And we're happy to share these with you and hoping that it's very helpful to you in your work. So, and we encourage you to share the CTD website resource with others. The website is listed there, ctdinstitute.org, and to create a new account that can be helpful to register to attend the webinars and the e-courses, and then also sign up for emails to receive email notifications and newsletters of upcoming events through the CTD website. So again, if you have questions or comments, we encourage you to email at CTD at, let me look up that email address again, CTD at FHI360.org, and we'd be happy to hear from you and answer any questions you have. And again, thank you for your time and for learning about CTD, and we're excited to share these resources with you.
Thank you.